All right, ladies and gentlemen, you just watched a very awesome game one between Curse Gaming and Ordinance Gaming. Curse taking it in a very late game and a very nice comeback from the early stages of the game. Can Ordinance come back and take game number two, or is Curse going to walk through into yet another late game showing right there and take it at 2-0? My name is Optimus Tom, and of course, joining me as always is the amazing Sulla. And Sulla, what can you expect from game number two? Like picks, bans wise, what's going to go on? Is Ordinance not going to just tower dive randomly and burn summoner spells? What's going to happen?
Well, we did see quite a turnaround in that last match. Ordinance was playing great. They were using Ash Ultimate and Nocturne Ultimate to score a variety of kills in the laning phase. It looked like they were really on their game, and then they had this really disastrous dive in middle where they tried to get a kill on Curse's middle lane Karthus, and it didn't quite work out, and then Karthus hits R and he pops his ultimate, and then it just feeds a double kill to Karthus. And it was like from the very moment we saw that, the game just flipped on its head, and Curse just grabbed control of the game. They had some really impressive dragon fights. They forced some Baron fights. They're able to take Baron twice. And over the course of about a 45-minute game, they really turned it around from being behind about 4,000 gold in the early game. So we'll have to go ahead and check out here what Ordinance is going to try to do to change this one up. Ordinance is already, they're not a big name in the League of Legends tournament scene. They've already have had some big-time upsets. They've knocked, earlier in this tournament, they've knocked CLG Black out of the tournament. They knocked MTW North America out of the tournament. So they've already beaten some very big-name teams. And we're going to have to see if they can turn this around and win the last two games in this best-of-3 here against Curse.
Yeah, it is really going to be a turning point for them. Can they compete with the big boys, or is Curse going to take a decisive game number two? We don't know yet. We're going to have to go into this one. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, because Sulla and I do have normal sleep schedules and the pro gamers do not have normal sleep schedules, we're not able to grab both of these guys in time for a live cast. What we are doing is casting from replays, so we do have the full picks and bans list for you guys. As you can see, the League of Legends client is up, if in case you're wondering why the heck that is there. We're going to be talking very briefly about the picks and bans. So Sulla, why don't you start us out with what the bans have been? I believe Ordinance now on the blue side and Curse is going to be on the red or purple. It depends if you're on colorblind mode or not side.
Ordinance did have a first ban or first pick for this game. You guys are never going to believe this, those of you who saw the first match, but their first ban was on Karthus
I
in
don't
this
know
particular
why.
match. It's really surprising, right? They did choose to ban out Karthus Shen. They also used their third ban on Alistar. So two of the champions that were used to great effect by Curse Gaming in that first match. Curse actually electing to ban out the exact same champions they did in the first game. They banned Urgot, they banned Twisted Fate, and they banned Shyvana. Twisted Fate, Shyvana, a little unusual. You don't see those bans. They may be targeted towards players on Ordinance Gaming. I'm not familiar enough with their team to know, but it looks like they did not want to see any of those three champs because they did use the exact same bans for game two.
So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now that two of the champions have been banned out in favor of Ordinance right there, so it's going to be, are they going to be able to come back with the picks in this one and really kind of counter pick Curse, or is Curse just going to wind up going with a plan B and showing the same kind of decimation? We don't know right now, but ladies and gentlemen, Ordinance Gaming had pick number one, and it does seem like they are going to be going back into the jungle with their jungle Nocturne, who is actually very useful. He had some really great initiations, combining that with the Ashe ultimate and the Malphite ultimate. Early game was really dominant by Ordinance, so going back to the Nocturne jungle, not too surprising from them.
One little thing there, Tom. Nocturne actually was picked by Curse
Oh, it's
in this
cursed by
particular
Curse.
match. I'm sorry about that. Ordinance actually did pick Kog'Maw with the first pick that we have here. We just have the list of everybody they picked. We don't have the exact team order. They did pick Kog'Maw, who can be played as either AP or AD. I believe that he's going to be played as AD based on the champion list that we have here. Curse then did take Nocturne with one of their picks. They actually picked Nocturne, and then as far as their mid lane goes, because they were denied Karthus, they're going to have Nijaki playing as Morgana in this particular game. Morgana was actually banned by Ordinance in the first game, so it looks like Nijaki may have just shifted from one of his favorite champs over to another one.
So yeah, now actually giving up the dog, which is not supposed to be barking like that. But ladies and gentlemen, giving up the pick of Karthus in order to pick up Morgana is gonna be very interesting. So I think you should take over for a second.
No problem. I'll just run through the rest of the picks here while we've got a minute. So the rest of the picks coming out here that I have for Ordnance, they've also picked up Jarvan. I'm not entirely sure if he's jungling Jarvan or playing in the top lane. I'm gonna have to wait until we actually watch this. Until we see this match to see. But they did pick up Jarvan. They also do have Olaf. I'm assuming that it's probably Olaf in the top lane, probably Jarvan jungling. But again, I apologize if it's the other way around. It's because I haven't seen this yet. They do have Janna in bottom lane. Janna and Kog'Maw is a very classic pairing. It's something that I've run a lot. Janna provides a lot of protection for Kog'Maw. Basically, it allows Kog'Maw to disengage from bad fights. Kog'Maw's big weakness is he doesn't have a lot of natural escape skills. So Janna is able to knock people away with her tornado, push people back with her ultimate, and basically make it easier for Kog'Maw to farm during those earlier levels where he's relatively weak. And then really interesting pick here. I don't know if this was, not sure if this was designed to be a counter pick to Morgana or what this was, but Ordinance AP pick is actually Kassadin for this game, a champion that we used to see a lot in competitive play. We don't see nearly as much anymore. One of those champions who's really sort of the assassin-y, snowball type champ, one of those champions who, if he gets fed, then he can become incredibly strong. He's just ganking all over the map. He is a champion who can be shut down, though, particularly in his early levels before he hits 6, before he gets his Rip Walk. And then just to round out the rest of the picks for Curse, we also have Kennen, who I'm assuming is going to be played top, could also theoretically be mid if they decide to switch with Morgana. And then the bottom lane for Curse is a very aggressive lane. They're going to be running Corki Blitzcrank in that bottom lane. Again, sort of a feast or famine lane. If Blitzcrank is hitting his hooks, then it looks amazing. If he's missing them, then you're like, oh, why did I pick Blitzcrank when I could have just had someone with sustain? And of course, Corki, an AD who has a lot of burst damage, good escapability, one of the strongest ADs, heavily played right now. So those are the matchups we've got for you.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting bottom lane coming out of Curse here. The Corki Blitzcrank, like you said, if Blitzcrank lands the pulls, he's the godsend from all of ages, and if he does not, then he is just the worst pick in the entire game. But considering how much success and how aggressive we saw Curse being in game number 1, I think it's going to work out a-okay for them. Even though Elements, if he doesn't land those hooks, he had complete brush control on the bottom lane last game. So Blitzcrank is still going to be a threat because he can still pop the W, move super fast, and knock them up into an air with an E. He doesn't really even need to land the hook in some certain cases. So if the bottom lane of Elements and Cop is going to be equally as aggressive as it was last game, I expect very good things from them. But they are playing against that Kog'Maw Janna composition. Janna did not do what she needed to do to keep them away from Ashe in the certain stages of the game last game, but she could do a lot of different things for Kog'Maw. As Kog'Maw going to be dealing a lot more damage earlier with his ultimate than Ashe was able to do in the bottom lane.
I actually thought that the bottom lane for the AD and support did pretty well for Ordinance in the first game while the laning phase was going on. Their problem was once they got out of the laning phase was when they got into all kinds of trouble, in large part because they were not able to keep Olaf from diving on them in that first game. So we'll see. This game in bottom lane just comes down to, can Kog'Maw farm? If he can, then Ordinance is in good shape. If he can't, then they are in a lot of trouble. So that's something to watch as we watch this match.
I guess so, and I guess the only way to find this out is if we're going to be jumping into game number 2. Solo, are you ready?
Whenever you are, Tom.
All right, let's hop right into game number 2, guys. We're going to be opening it up. Like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a replay because unfortunately we're not able to grab both teams at a reasonable hour. They had to play the game and record it. We are going to be getting into game number 2 as soon as Lala Replay decides to open up the game, ladies and gentlemen, which it is not doing right now. There we go. A match is still in progress. No. There we go. We are going to be...
I actually had the same thing.
Okay, well... At least we're good now, but I did open the game, and I'm actually on the loading screen right now.
Same here.
All right, here we go. At least if things go wrong, we do it together, Sola.
I was wondering the same thing. I was wondering that you were going to be 30 seconds ahead of me, and we were going to be in all kinds of trouble. But I am just on the summoning platform right now.
Yep, about 2 or 3 seconds in the game, we see a lot of boots being bought as we are in game number 2 of this very exciting matchup. Now, Ordinance had a very strong early game last game, even though that Nocturne jungle got off to a little bit of a slow start because of the aggressive nature of Curse. Is it going to be the same exact thing? Are they going to have a dominant early game, or is Curse going to be able to assert the dominance that they wanted to early game and really just carry it into the late stages of the game like we saw last game? Guess only time's going to tell.
One thing that I should point out right away here is we're at the beginning of the game. Once again, Curse likes to go for these aggressive early game comps. Their level 1 is better just due to the fact that they have Blitzcrank, and Blitzcrank can single-handedly win level 1 fights by themselves. So I would say that we will likely see Curse being really aggressive here again, looking to invade. We will probably see Ordinance being probably looking just not to fight early on and probably looking just to play it safe. That's why they've already warded their blue buff. We saw them do that in the first game as well. They warded their own blue because they're expecting an invasion, and indeed it's something similar. We're seeing very similar patterns here at the start of this second game.
Yeah, indeed. Although this time Ordnance is not going to be hiding behind a little bit of a wall there by their own blue buff. They're actually going to be going over to their own red buff. So this could potentially be a red start for Jarvan. He doesn't necessarily need the blue buff to move through the game. Although we might be seeing what you suggested last game. There's going to be a little bit of a blue switch going on as Ordnance is now by Curse's blue buff and Curse is by Ordnance's blue buff. Unfortunately, Curse does not have the ward by their own blue buff, so they don't know what's up. They're just going to have to really take a shot in the dark at this one and see if they're going to just go for the steal or if they're going to go for the counter and go back to their own blue buff. Looks like with the bottom lane recalling, though, just going to be 3 members of Curse continuing to take the enemy blue buff, while it looks like just going to be a fair blue exchange.
It's a really good thing that Ordinance wasn't hiding where they did last game, because Elements tried to blind Blitzcrank hook over the wall, and it would have hit right where Ordinance was hiding in the first game. I don't know if they watched the replay for the first game before playing this one, but it looks like Curse knew exactly where Ordinance was hiding in the first match. And it does look like both sides are just going to steal blue right here from each other, and we're going to have something similar to the first game where each team I don't know, actually, it looks like St. Vicious has been chased off of blue. Wow, so that's going to set him back pretty significantly because it looks like he's lost his own blue buff.
Yeah, he did lose his own blue buff. Brax coming up on that Olaf, just contesting the blue buff, and just enough to let it reset. And because it reset, St. Vicious, even though he had Westrace there to protect him, was not able to go in and finish off the blue buff. So the reset there from Brax, just very, very good. Now St. Vicious, both Nocturne's gotten off to a little bit of a slower start in these games. I don't know. It might just be something about the weather on the map of Summoner's Rift right now, not in favor of Nocturne.
That's a really good result for Ordnance. That means that it's going to be that much longer until they start seeing Nocturne pressure on their lanes. Nocturne usually doesn't gank too much until he hits 6, gets his ultimate. He can't really do too much. He needs at least level 4 so he can get his fear before he does anything. So the longer you delay him hitting those levels, the more time you have to farm the lanes in peace. Although it looks like he might actually be going for a gank here at level 2.
Yeah, he didn't actually stop to get the red buff, so this is a buffless gank, which means he's not going to have the mana regeneration or a passive slow on the red buff. He is going to go in here to try to go in on Brax. Brax not packing the flash like we saw Westrace last game. Wow, look at how low St. Vicious got. The Ignite is going to pick up the kill. That is just the power of denying your enemy jungler a buff. That was just so bad right there.
Bot right now,
too. Bottom lane looks like Element's actually going to get taken down here by Kog'Maw as Yoda came in for a gank there. So very, lots of action going on. Unfortunately, the expense of the jungler for Curse and to the plus of the jungler from Ordinance. So very awesome stuff coming out of the early levels. And Ordinance again with a quick 2-0 lead in this game.
Are we watching the same game that we just saw, or is this a different game? I mean, once again, Ordinance, yeah, they're out to another early lead. Let's see if they can do better in this match than they did in the first one with it. That first blood was really nicely done. Brax playing the Olaf up in top lane. He didn't panic. When he saw St. Vicious came in, it was just one reckless swing and ignite, and then we had one very embarrassed St. Vicious running out as he gives up first blood again because he was only level 2 and he was actually a lower level than the 2 top laners. Then in bottom lane, just a very standard Jarvan gank. He had blue and red. I believe he came through the lane, and he either came through the lane or through the tri-brush. I'm afraid I didn't see it because I was watching the fight in top lane. Just was able to initiate and able to get that kill. So we actually saw the very aggressive Quirky Blitz lane dying to the Farm Fest Kog'Maw plus Janna lane. But again, that's the power of when that jungler comes in. He can, flip that lane and even able to pick up a kill in a situation like that.
Yeah, St. Vicious actually on the jungle. Nocturne just hit his own level 3. We saw him go over towards his blue buff. Ordinance-Gaming did not notice this earlier. Left a little teeny tiny lizard, so that blue buff is not going to spawn until about the 9-minute mark for Curse, which means that Nijaki going to be without a blue buff. Nocturne going to be without that experience, and that could be a little bit of an advantage that Cassidy kind of needs. You did mention in the champion select, heard you talk about how he is a little bit of a snowball caster, kind of assassin type champion, and actually it's going to be a very beneficial if he gets a blue and Morgana does not. I'm going to be switching to the bottom lane right here, as I did see, speaking of aggressive bottom lane, Elements landing a hook on the Kog'Maw and getting a lot of damage down, but the Janna shield absorbing a decent amount, and Kog'Maw's able to lay a lot of damage back down onto Cobb. Cobb having to burn through a couple of health potions. He does have 3 to his name right now because he was forced to go back, decided to buy up a little bit more. There's another pull landing onto Robert Lee. There's another Janna shield absorbing some damage with the Gatling gun from Corky dealing a lot. Looks like a cleanse is being used right there. That's going to get him out of any kind of sticky situation right there. So even though Elements is landing these hooks, Blitzcrank still not looking like the best thing in the world because unfortunately after first blood going to Kaba, he's in a very good position for this bottom lane.
Well, that was a good pull regardless. Robert Exley did survive that, but that was both summoners down. That was cleanse used and exhaust used on the support. We actually have we might see Yoda getting caught here in mid as well.
Yeah, he does get the Dark Binding and the pool. Kennon's actually going to be coming in from top lane. Don't think he expected that one. Black Shield does go off so that Cassin is not able to silence her, and that's going to be a very, very nice kill there. Nijaki actually picking up a blue buff off that one, so even though he's not getting his own blue buff for a little while, he just grabbed the enemy's one, so that's fine.
Oh, that's really sad because, as you said, Nijaki hit that blue buff. He wasn't going to get it until the 9-minute mark, and then the jungler comes in and hands it to him. So that is the exact opposite of what you want to see happening. Unfortunately, that's like a blue buff donation, but in the opposite direction. As it turns out, Yoda was coming in. He was trying to gank the lane, but he walked right by a ward that Curse had already put down. They knew he was there, and they counter ganked that and did so in very nice fashion. So that's a big time advantage for Curse in mid. They're still slightly behind. But the game's almost dead even when they were behind by about 1,000 before. Now the game's basically evened up, in part due to that play, and in part also due to, I think bottom lane is a little bit behind in farm. No, they're actually ahead, and actually Kog'Maw's a little bit ahead, so must be farming somewhere else on the map I haven't seen yet.
No, definitely Kog'Maw a little bit ahead. I think because Olaf was left to the top devices all by himself, whereas Kennen came in for a gank. That might be a little bit more of where the gold is coming from. Taking a quick look, Olaf does have 36 CS, but Kennen, fighting back with 34. So, we're kind of perplexed as to where the 200 gold is coming from on them right now. Speaking of top lane, though, Westray's going to go in on Olaf, just laying down some reckless swings. That is a lot of damage on the poor little Yordle in a ninja costume. So Olaf doing a really great job, just using that brush to his advantage, continue to go down on Westray. Westray, though, baiting this out. St. Vicious is going to come in here. There goes the Kennen ultimate. Is he going to get the stun down? No, and the fear does go off, though, because the ultimate did end. So St. Vicious coming in, picking up a kill there. That is kind of the boost he needed to get himself back into this game.
I'm not sure why Brax didn't just ult there. He was 6 and he never used his ult. Maybe he didn't have enough mana in that particular case. I'm not certain. But he didn't use his ult. I'd have to go back and look at that again. But he was 6. He did have his ult. It was not on cooldown. He did not use it. And it looks like he did end up getting crowd control there. He may have just been out of mana and not have been able to use it in that particular case. Otherwise, I have to assume he would have used it there.
Definitely. I thought he used it because he did not get stunned by the Kennen ultimate, but I guess
he
just
didn't use it. You can see it's still listed there. He never used it.
I guess the Kennen did not get enough stacks tagged down on Olaf, and Olaf may have actually been tricked by that and realized like, oh, I didn't get stunned in that one, I might be okay, and then ate a fear from Nocturne and just kind of let St. Vicious pick up a free kill on that one and kind of get himself, like we said, a little bit back into this game. As now he does have items to go pick up his own Wriggles Lantern. Jarvan in the meanwhile has finished the Madred's Rager, so he's not too far ahead of St. Vicious right now. St. Vicious actually leading a little bit in CS by about 5 or 6, so he's in a pretty good position after starting from such a disadvantage at this game. Kennen, meanwhile, in the top lane, like we said, he does have pretty much the same farm as Olaf, so Olaf not really suffering too much from that one. Do you see him picking up double null magic mantle, though, to just combat the fact that Kennen is going to be dealing a lot of ability power damage, already picking up his Sorcerer's Shoes and a Doran shield just to survive a little bit against those Olaf reckless swings.
That's a nice buy by Brax, the Olaf player, picking up the double no magic. Really nice. He can build that into Merc Treads. He can build that into Wit's End if he wants. He can even build it into a Chalice or Aegis. He can build it into well, probably not a Chalice, but he could if he really wanted to.
Probably going for more of a Hex Drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
one of the biggest things that's going on good for Ordinance right now is they actually are ahead in farm in that bottom lane, which is a very good sign for them. Again, Kog'Maw basically just wants to sit back and farm away in that lane, and he actually is ahead. He's about a little bit less than 10 CS ahead, so that's a good sign considering just how aggressive a Quirky Blitz lane is. So far, as you said before, that Blitzcrank pick hasn't really worked out for Curse thus far. We'll have to see if Elements is able to land a big grab at some point and make it worthwhile of that pick.
Yeah, Elements and Corky doing a really great job of keeping Kog'Maw and John against their tower, but Kog'Maw, Robert X. Lee's just doing a superb job of last hitting against the tower. So even though they're kind of like pushing them in the lane and, potentially have a clear pull towards the tower and everything, they're just doing a really great job of lasting at the tower, staying back behind it enough so that Blitzcrank pull is kind of nullified because of this. And the bottom, like you said, spiral into a little bit of a controlling lead there in CS as Kog'Maw currently 68 to Corky's 59. Like you said, about 10 constant CS above Corky, and that's just going to be what Ordinance wants Kog'Maw to do.
Yeah, this game's really very even right now. There's not a huge difference really anywhere on the map. It's actually dead even in Global Gold right now, and we've seen the 2 kills on both sides. We're kind of just waiting for one team or the other to make a big play.
Caston actually very interesting here. He is going to be donating his own blue buff here, but interesting enough, he's got a double GP10 build, something that we see Skara doing a lot when he decides to screw around with AP mid in his solo queue there. But meanwhile, Morgana has opted to go for a triple Doran's ring, so she does have 99 ability power to Kassadin's 50 right now, and she is going to have a little bit more health and a little bit more mana regeneration. Both of them have their own blue buffs, though, so they're going to be spamming spells back and forth. But I think it's kind of interesting. Kassadin, he's not getting kills right now, so he is going for a little bit more of a gold acceleration build. We're going to see how that works out for him. Meanwhile, bottom lane here, we have Janna and Corki both getting very low. Elements looks like he's getting super low, too. Kama, in the meantime, the healthiest one on the bottom lane, and that doesn't bode well for Curse. He's continuing to lay away with that Bioarcane Barrage and continuing to just fire away with that Living Artillery, but they are going to get away. Yeah, now even top, we see, no, there's a Nocturne ultimate going off here. Fear is actually not going to get Olaf on that one, but he is going to fall due to the sheer damage output of Kennen and Nocturne. Diving past that tower, taking a little shot over the shoulder, both apiece. But a nice kill picked up for Curse on the top lane. They did not die in the bottom lane, even though they were being chased down by that Kama and Janna. Now with 1 kill ahead, they're not super far ahead in gold. Still only about a couple hundred, like you said, pretty much dead even in the gold count right now. But Curse, you know, taking the advantages where they can. Ken is actually going to get caught by a Cataclysm here in the jungle, but able to flash out of the way. There is a stun there on Jarvan, so Ken is going to get away A-OK. Morgana and Kassadin are going to kind of walk towards there, but then just go back to their own lane. Now we see the bottom lane. Blitzcrank's going to land a nice pull on Kalba. He's all by himself. Janna's nowhere to be found. Popping all the summoners to try to get out of there. Elements is not going to tag him with the ultimate, but Corki's going to Valkyrie in and get the last auto attack needed. So Robert Lee being a little bit far up to be without his Janna on the bottom lane winds up paying for it. And Curse now.
That's the classic. My support went back to buy, and I was just a little bit too close because I wanted to get the experience when those minions died. We actually have a dive in mid too going on right now.
Yeah, we saw Morgana blowing the ultimate right here, but there's a nice flash from Yoda's going to keep him out of harm's way, so he's getting low, but not low enough to die right there. Now Nijaki paying for it with a couple tower shots. Morgana's passive is going to be able to heal him up off of that pool, though. There are pings going down as Kassadin has been spotted by his jungle. Nice little miss of the Blitzcrank arm there because of the R there. While the Knight goes down on Morgana, is not going to be able to pick up the kill, and of course Kenneth is just going to be able to just shift out of there with Kassadin. But now Curse could be positioning for a dragon here. They forced 2 members of Ordinance-Gaming back, or at least to low health. Morgana's the only one that has to go back, and there are 3 members here, one of them being the AD carry and one of them being the jungler, so they could potentially take this down. St. Vicious has gotten his Wriggles Lantern, so he's dealing extra damage to the dragon. Cobalt, once again, without his Janna support right now. Oh, actually, no, he is with Janna support. I just couldn't see because they're on top of each other, but they're not actually able to contest that dragon, and Curse is going to take that and get away. Flash with the tornado there from Janna, wants to get a little bit aggressive, maybe even pop the ultimate, but is not able to get that. Elements is going to have to burn his slash over the wall, but Flash on the supports down a piece. There's no kills going down for Curse. They snag themselves a dragon, and that seems like a little bit of a victory for him.
Oh, it's a definite victory. They got another 1,000 global gold off of that, so they go from being 1,000 ahead to 2,000 ahead off of that sequence. I'm not sure if Ordinance expected them to do that, just because, again, Nijaki was forced back. Nijaki actually survived with 10 HP on that last Ignite when it got ticked down very, very low. They did have a pink ward. Curse did have a pink ward at Dragon, so they knew that Ordinance did not have any sight, so Ordinance didn't really know exactly when the Dragon was going to die, when they had to go in there. It was a very aggressive play that Curse just barely managed to make it out of here. We actually have another gank coming in mid here. We see Jarvan chasing, but looks like Nijaki's Morgana is going to be okay there. So far, I'd say the Kassadin pick hasn't really worked thus far. Definitely, we do see Kennan's going for the long game. You mentioned those gold pretends. He's playing for the long game. We're actually likely going to see a gank in top here too, so keep an eye on that with Nocturne looking in the wins. But Kassadin needs to be ganking other lanes. He needs to be going around the map and using that mobility, and he hasn't really done that yet. So if he's not able to do that, it's not really going to be that effective.
No, it's
we really need to see that. Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, it's very interesting because we mentioned the GP10 build on him, which makes it seem like he wants to be mobile and maybe stay out of his lane. He was doing a good job on that as Ryze, and Ryze is a champion you normally don't see doing a lot of that. He's a little bit slow, so he doesn't really get to the other lanes nearly as fast. Kassadin basically has a free flash on him, so he's the one that you would expect to do this, and now Kennens isn't doing it, so it's a very interesting kind of role swap. We see a little bit of aggression on the bottom lane from Robert X. Lee and Spellsy, laying away with the Bioarcane Barrage on the Elements, making sure he does not want to pull anybody there. Now that we've actually taunted Kassadin into asking why he's not ganking, he looks like he is going to potentially go for a top gank here. But Kennen, there's a ward in the tri-bush. I didn't see if Kassadin walked through that one, but might know what's up as he's playing very passive right now, not going to leave his tower. And as soon as I say he's not going to leave his tower, he does actually walk forward. There's the Cassidy going forward with the teleport skill and just actually get the silence off. Ken is going to pop the ultimate in tower range right now. Olaf is not going to get stunned through that one, though. He did pop the ultimate that time, so he's going to wind up picking up Cassidy in the kill right there. Meanwhile, we have 4 members of Curse on the bottom lane right here. It don't exactly look like there's any engage really going on here. Maybe potential for a gank since both middles were missing. So Ken is going to fall on top lane. Morgana with the black shield goes down. There's going to be an ultimate on this tower dive. St. Vincent is going to immediately take down Kalma. Janna ultimate is going to disposition everybody out of the Morgana ultimate. We're going to see a top tower falling in this fight, but Janna's actually going to pick up a kill on the Blitzcrank. An excellent Cataclysm catching a lot of members of Curse inside of it, but Jarvan and Janna will eventually fall to just too many members of Curse right here. They're going to trade a couple kills in top, a couple kills in bottom, and each team a tower, but I believe Curse came out with 1 more kill in that exchange.
I think they did it. It was pretty even. I think Curse came out a little bit ahead. They also, looks like they are going to deny a fair amount of minions down here in bottom lane. Not really a whole lot that Ordinance could do there. I think that they actually played it reasonably well. Like you said, that Jarvan Cataclysm was very nicely placed. It was just a matter of Kog'Maw dying instantly, right at the start of the fight. The instant that Morgana ult ticked, he died, so he wasn't really able to do any damage. And then a nice job by Curse of rotating who was tanking that tower. Cop's Quirky got out of there on like 100 HP, so he just timed that perfectly. 1 more shot and he would have died there. So just a really nice play. Again, not 4v3 under the tower, not a whole lot that they could do. Ordinance played that reasonably well, but you know, Curse had more champions there, and they were able to come out on top. So Curse has a pretty good lead right now. They're close to 4,000 gold. They're in a pretty strong position right now. It's certainly not too late for Ordinance to turn this around, but if you just look at the farm, if you look at the champion farm right now, Curse is ahead in every lane. I guess it's basically even in bottom, but Curse is ahead in the other 2 lanes, so that's boding well for them, and they did get that first dragon, so they're in a very comfortable position.
Ooh, there was the little bit of a miss or make it hook there from Blitzcrank because he pulls a minion instead of Kalma that just decided to jump in front of him and take the shot. It takes a little bit too much damage. Interestingly enough, Cop has gone for a very fast Trinity Force. That just speaks to A, the amount of gold he has, and B, I guess the sound amount of play he has in his Corky build, as he's just not going for any Doran's items or building any other damaging items first, just went straight for that Trinity Force.
That usually indicates more of like a push, a poking type build when he goes for that, when he tries to get the Sheen and the Phage into the Trinity Force. It's a little unusual. You do see it sometimes. Again, it actually looks like we're going to have a gank down here.
Yeah, Kalma looks like he's in a little bit of the danger zone here. Nocturne is not going to pop the ultimate, though. He's just going to, you know, pop his own Q and try to move fast enough to go in there. Ooh, they actually spy that Yoda was waiting in the wings of a bush here. They're going to get the fear down. Cataclysm goes off, but it's just really just a pen for Kalma to hide outside of, as the rest of Curse going to tag the kill on Jarvan and get out of there. As now Ken is coming in from the middle lane. Morgana's not far behind, but she is kind of far right now. Ooh, nice Blitzcrank hook is going to pull Cassidy back into the tower range, so they will pick up a kill there. That goes to Cop. Kalma's going to try to go after Blitzcrank, but is not going to work out for them as he's going to get killed by Cop as well. Morgana ultimate goes off, just setting up another kill for Cop. And I guess going Trinity Force first is going to be a very good idea if you have that much gold afterwards to throw around.
Oh, that just backfired so badly for Ordinance. They had it set up. They were trying to bait that fight. The problem was Corky was just doing way more damage than they expected. Jarvan just died much faster than they anticipated. Then Cassidy came down. He tried to gank that. He didn't manage to catch anybody, and then Morgana followed him down to bottom lane and just cleaned up everybody. With Cop getting that triple kill, Cop is now going to have so much gold. Let's see if we check the gold status. He should have the most in the game right now, I believe. Yeah, he has 6,700. He is, wow, he's 2,000 gold ahead of Kog'Maw. That is really bad news, because that means Kog can no longer 1v1 against him in lane. So that's really bad news, and it means that Curse is in a really comfortable position. They're in position to snowball this from the bottom lane. Their jungler and their mid are also quite strong as well. So even though their top lane is not really that far ahead, their top is ahead, but not by that much. Their bottom lane may be able just to snowball this game at the rate that things are going right now.
And the thing is, Kama actually did not go for a damaging item first, picking up the Zeal because he had the Janna shield to guarantee a little bit extra damage in those trades. So he went Zeal first, only has a pickaxe to his name. Oh, actually, Nocturne ultimate goes over the wall there. They are going to get damage down onto Robert Lee's Kama again. Are they going to get the kill on here? Spellsy's also getting very low, has to flash over the wall. Cop is going to follow after the support character and pick up a kill. That's a domination for him. Brax is going to come from behind, pops the ultimate. He could pick up a kill down here on St. Vicious. That one actually getting donated to Cassid in there. Now West Trace is trying trying to take down Kalma. It's not going to work. We saw Cop actually coming from behind and taking out a kill on Jarvan, and then coming back around to finish off Olaf. Kasten is going to finish off Westrace. The biggest part of that fight is Kalma did not fall despite being very, very low. But even bigger part of that fight is Curse came out 1 kill ahead once again.
Yeah, Cop picked up even more kills. He's now 803. That's really bad news when the AD is getting that strong. Curse did pick up the Dragon in that exchange as well, so they're now up to 7,000 global gold lead. One of the things that you see with that Trinity Force build is the quirky missiles just hit like a truck because he's got the Sheen backing them. So that's why that poke was doing so much damage in that last particular fight. With double buff, Quirky is also really, really strong because he can spam his missiles, he can spam his phosphorus bomb. He's also slowing on each auto attack with that red buff. Cop went back and straight bought a Bloodthirster, so he is really, really terrifying right now. No one else on their team has that much damage thus far, except for Corky. But if they can keep Cop safe in these team fights, he's just going to rack everybody on Ordinance. Meanwhile, like you said, Kog'Maw did go for the Zeal first. That's a very popular build, again, just due to the way that Kog'Maw's W works, is you need some attack speed to back it, so he can just get more attacks off while his W is running. It also does give him more movement speed, so he can reposition in these fights. But if you let's just check how much AD these two have. Corky has 217, Kog'Maw has 148, so he's got about 50% more. That's a big, big difference. And the front line is tankier for Curse too, so they can do a better job of protecting him.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, Corky's pokes right now probably a little bit stronger than Kog'Maw's. Kog'Maw's going to have a lot of damage from that living artillery, but Corky, like you said, has the missile back with Sheen on that Trinity Force proc. So much damage. You can see him just poking down entire minion waves right there with the big one there. So very, very, lots of damage coming out from Corky right now. And like you said, just at this point in time, he's a lot scarier looking than Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw has just not had nearly as much farm as Corky has. You mentioned 8-0-3. Kog'Maw only wishes he had that many kills right now.
Yeah, the one good news for Ordinance is Cog does scale really, really well in the late game. If they can stall this game out, if they can keep it here or make up some of that gold deficit, then Cog will eventually become scarier than Corky. It's just that currently he's very, very far behind, so they need to try to stall this out and just survive into a later portion of the game when he'll become stronger. We had a little bit of a poke exchange back and forth in top. We'll see if Nijaki and Westrace are able to do something about this blue buff here, but no real action going on there in the top lane. It looked like Curse wanted to take that tower but wasn't quite able to do so.
Yeah, unless they're going a little bit in on that late on that blue buff, they're not going to be able to contest that. Elements, meanwhile, coming all the way down from the bottom, coming all the way up from the bottom lane. Didn't even see him moving across the minimap. He's just so fast when he pops that W right there. But you know, just Curse is continuing to contest resources, deny resources, push the lanes a lot better than Ordinance like we had last game. They're taking down both towers in the bottom lane. Ordinance doing a little bit better job of the pushing. Meanwhile, has taken down top tower of Curse, which is one more tower than they got in the last game. But unfortunately, still a little bit behind in the gold, about 35k to currently to 27.5k-ish. They are down in the kills right now, and like you said, you know, Kog'Maw, he is going to scale better into the later stages of the game, but right now, Ordinance is going to have to play to get there, whereas Curse is probably going to be playing, like you said, they love to play aggressive. They're probably going to be going to make a couple more plays right now.
Another engage in top, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of going for plays, they do get this gank down on Nebraska's Olaf. There's a flash coming out from Nocturne. There's a lot of damage going down. His ultimate has been popped. He's not getting CC, but a lot of damage. We'll take him down. Kennan's actually coming back with a lot of surprising damage, melting down the remainder of Westrace's health. The Ignite will pick up the kill on him. So now Kasten, we haven't talked about him ever since we saw him start roaming around, because I guess he satisfied all we were talking about at that point. 4-1-0, bound himself back up to 147 CS and about 167 on the ability power charts. Has a needlessly large rod, not a death cap yet. In addition to just racking up the stacks on his tier of the goddess, he's starting to get himself back into this game.
He is doing a good job. Kenneth is getting pretty strong at this point. He actually is slightly ahead of Nijaki in terms of the gold department. He's about 200 gold ahead, and that's despite all the global gold that Nijaki's gotten from all those towers. I'm glad that you did mention the towers. Oh, we look like we might have a fight down here in bottom lane, but I'm glad you did mention the towers, Tom, because that's been one thing that Curse has done in both games. They've been taking those towers, and I mean, one tower doesn't make that big of a difference, but when you're getting like 3, 4, 5 towers more than the other team, that global gold really adds up. It's about 150 per tower per champion, so that really does add up over time, and we've seen just in both of these games, Curse has done a much better job of taking those towers. It's given them the map control, it's allowed them to invade, and in fact, we've got a ton of Curse wards right now in the jungle for Ordinance. I mean, on both the top side and the bottom side, they've got the whole jungle warded up. We can even check that on if you hit F2, you can even see how much vision they have in the jungle right now. So, I mean, the global gold and then just the ability to invade really has been a factor in both of these games, and that's a big reason why they've got this 8,000 gold lead right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ordinance really doesn't have that many wards. They have a couple in their own jungle, but the thing is, Curse is being so aggressive. Like you said, they are warding the enemy jungle. They are being ever present on the map, and what they're doing is the exact same thing we saw last game. They're being super aggressive, making Ordinance go into this defensive kind of state, and then waiting for an opportunity to engage, or waiting for Ordinance to make the mistake of trying to engage on them, and they're just really coming out far ahead of this one. As you mentioned, Corki being super farmed at this point is, of course, a huge benefit to that, as anytime Ordinance goes in, if they do not melt Corki down almost instantaneously, then he's just going to survive and deal ridiculous amounts of damage as the team fight prolongs. Elements picking up Oracle's Elixir now is going to deny any vision that Ordinance was trying to get over Curse, and that's just going to assert their map dominance even more so. And we can see right now, Ordinance, all their members are confined to the middle lane. Caston's the only one brave enough to go past like where their original tower was, and now they don't even know this because all their wards are gone, that Curse is taking a Baron attempt right now. Morgana's going to be flirting around the middle lane just to kind of let them know, like, oh hey, we're just walking around, nothing's really up. But in the meantime, the rest of Curse taking down Baron with ease. Now all of a sudden Morgana has Baron buff. Ordinance doesn't know what's up. Jarvan looks to be maybe getting caught out of position here. He is going to go over the wall, but Corki's going to follow, Nocturne's going to follow, and Jarvan is not going to stand up to the power of those two champions from Curse. Taking him down, Baron buff up for Curse. They look to be, once again, in a very good position at this stage in the game.
They're in total control right now. That's a great Baron. They just cleared out all the wards. They waited to see if Ordinance would come and challenge them. They never did. Nyjack, he sold it really well, as you mentioned, was just hanging around mid, made it look like the team wasn't doing Baron, because Ordinance is like, oh, we can see Morgana. He's not, they're not doing Baron. We can see Morgana, but everyone else on the team is there. They grab it, and then Jarvan comes over to check things out. He thinks he's safe. He flag pulls over the wall. Nocturne and Corki just immediately jump on him, and we saw how fast Jarvan melted. Jarvan's building almost straight tank. He's got the Wriggles, the Phage, the Heart of Gold, but he still died almost instantaneously as soon as that Gatling gun came out. So with that Baron buff, now we'll see Curse look to go ahead and push. They're going back right now to buy, and then we'll just see where they choose. I would expect they'll probably just go straight down middle lane, and again, just continue to enforce their will on this game. I'm curious to see what Corki's going to buy when he goes back, because he's sitting on another 2,400 gold. He could get a Last Whisper here if he wanted to. Let's see what he gets.
Nope, actually he's teleporting and dodging all my clicks. Does look like he's going to get a BF sword in addition to a Negatron cloak, so going for some damage. Actually sells pots and gets ward, so he's actually going to help in the cause to ward the map and get further and further ahead in this game. But still, picking up the BF sword, just a little bit extra damage, potentially an Infinity Edge out of that one. Although we could potentially see a Black Cleaver too. That'd be really interesting depending on all the armor shred Corki already has in his build. Although
he's probably getting Infinity Edge and a Quicksilver Sash would be my guess. He doesn't want to get, he wants the ability to cleanse if he gets slowed by Kassadin, would be my guess.
Kassadin is one of the champions that really have to worry about. Even though he is a little bit squishy, he has so much damage potential on just stacking his ultimate and being able to just jump on Corki. He is the one champion in this game, between him and Olaf actually. They do have a lot of dive on Corki potential, so Curse, even though they're a little bit ahead, if they get caught out of position and Cop is the one that they fall onto, they have two champions that are adept at running straight for him and taking him out of a fight. So Curse going to be very careful about that one, but still, with the commanding lead they have right now, I don't think they're really too worried about it.
No, another thing, Morgana did pick up an Hourglass, so we will likely see that there's a team fight. They're just split. Curse right now split pushing with Nocturne. He's down there taking down bottom tower. So Curse not looking to force a fight here in mid. They're looking to just get this bottom tower. And it looks like they're going to get mid for free too while this is going on, just because, again, they've got this huge lead right now, 13,000 gold and Baron. It looks like Ordinance is just going to be willing to give up all their outer towers and just try to hold their inner base and hold their inhibs and try to wait out this Baron and just wait to see if they can catch someone out of position. It's really their best hope. They just need someone on Curse to be out of position and engage on them and force a fight once that Baron runs out. But it's just going to be difficult because, again, Corki's got the Valkyrie to be able to escape. Kennan's got his Lightning Rush. Morgana can pop the Hourglass. They have ways to get out of a lot of bad situations.
Yeah, they really do. And it looks like St. Vicious pretending he's Shen down there. He's in range of everybody with that ultimate right now. So Nocturne's going to be doing a great job of split pushing because Curse has Ordinance so far confined into their own base. They're going to push down the inhibitor turret in the middle. We saw Olaf going onto the bottom, has to come back up to try to help out, but to no avail. They are going to get the inhibitor in the middle lane too. And now what St. Vicious is clearing a path onto the bottom lane. Just a quick transition down here. Kalma is going to get a couple ults worth of damage down on the Blitzcrank and crew, but unfortunately Curse is going to get this tower. They got the middle inhibitor. There's the initiate from Nocturne. He is going to go immediately on the Cogwell, force him out of the fight. Corki actually Valkyrieing into the Cataclysm and then flashing out of it to pick up a kill on Jarvan. There's going to be another kill for Corki as he picked up the kill on Janna. Kennan's going to finish off Olaf. A triple kill for Corki as he gets the last hit onto Kog'Maw. And then even the big one in the fountain, sealing a quadra kill. just sniping Cassidy down. Unfortunately, Ordinance did not have the ability or positioning to jump on Corki in that fight. Corki even used his escapes offensively in that one, picked himself up a quadra kill. Westrice, unfortunately, the only casualty for Curse in that fight. It is a 5-for-1 and just basically a victory right now, as Curse going to push down onto this Nexus and take a very convincing game number 2 over Ordinance and propel them into the finals for IPL5 qualifiers.
That's a shame we didn't see the pentakill there. That's the only thing that was missing on Corki. Yeah, just that was a desperation fight. Ordinance had to go in, or they were just going to lose their entire base. They probably knew they couldn't win that. They just tried because they're going to lose their second inhib otherwise. And I mean, we saw that was the result. Curse is just so far ahead. They just, destroyed them in that team fight. It wasn't even close. So MVP Cop, that game, amazing. 13-04, really well played. Snowballed off bottom lane and just took total control of that match. So nicely played to Curse.
Yeah, definitely. And Curse going to take a convincing 2-0 victory. Like we said, that was the IPL5 semifinals for the League of Legends tournament. They're going to propel themselves into the finals bracket. We're just going to have to await and see who their opponent is going to be. That was just... Like you said, that was all Cop all the time right there. Rushing that Trinity Force, going for the poke damage, going for so much more damage than Cobalt did by building that Zeal. And that really kind of sealed the deal. As soon as that bottom lane went out of control, when they're getting in the team fights, Cop, he just wasn't killed that game at all. He was unkillable. 0 deaths.
No, he was legendary like 5 times over, because he got like 5 or 6 more kills after he hit legendary. It's impressive, especially because remember, Cogmal was ahead in that lane early on. The Ordinance was actually winning that lane. They were out farming it. But again, it came down to that fight in bottom lane that just went disastrously wrong when once again Ordinance tried to bait out that fight, and it just backfired on them, and they suffered, I think, 3 or 4 deaths. And I think that Corki picked up most of those kills, and from there he was just off and running. He got out in front, and as soon as he got ahead, it was just impossible for Cog to farm. If you notice, Cogmal was just not able to farm once Corki got ahead, and that was really one of the keys in that match. But anyway, yeah, so an impressive showing from Curse. Looked much better in this second game. Again, Ordinance got out to that early lead once again, but just couldn't quite seem to hold on to it once again. So 2 games out of 2. They looked good for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And unfortunately, it just all kind of fell apart after that. They just weren't able to win the team fights.
So unfortunately, Ordinance is going to go down 2-0 to Curse. Like we mentioned before, Curse is moving on to the finals of the IPL5 League of Legends qualifier. Very, very exciting stuff. Like we said, we don't know who their opponent's going to be yet, but we can assure you it's going to be a great game. So guys, you're going to want to stay tuned for that when we do get those games up and finalized. Anyway, guys, this has been an awesome, awesome night. Thanks for bearing with us with the replays once again, and the barking dog, because occasionally he does do that and get out of control. Sulla, anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
Well, I do have no barking dogs, but I want to thank everybody for watching us. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I believe we're going to have the second semifinal. I believe it's between Dignitas and TSM Evo, so hopefully that'll be coming out real soon. And continue to stick back with us. I hope you guys enjoy watching. We'll see you again soon.
Yes, indeed, guys. All right, so once again, good night. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys later.